Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Hey, Nero, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for coming by. So, today, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter stream, one of these chatting ones. But today, I wanted to talk about Marathon. Because I had originally planned on doing a video about it this week, have that be the Thursday video, but just because my schedule's been, you probably have noticed a lot of like, instead of doing the usual Thursday videos, there's a lot more of like the Sunday streams, which right now currently tend to fit into my schedule a little bit better than just because I've got like an hour or two to kill most Sundays in the afternoons, especially when I have my work done. I'm fine. Oh, good. Glad to hear that. So, for right now, those are just more convenient for me than editing and like recording and editing the Thursday videos. Um, but I wanted to do this as a live stream instead, just because I have a lot to say about Marathon because this weekend marked the big open server slam that they had for the game, and this is actually my second time playing Marathon because I got the chance to play it, I believe, back in, I think it was November or December when they did one of the closed tech tests, and ended up getting a code for that. But because it was closed, you had to sign an NDA to get into it, and I didn't want to rock the boat legally with that one, so I refrained from making a video about it. But in my own like personal life to friends, I had a lot to say about the game. Most of it negative. I'm surprised they announced the release date of Wolverine out of the blue. I I am surprised a little bit, but I think it's also the conspiracy theorist in me thinks they did that to kind of distract people from the negativity of shutting down Blue Point. I mean, I can't prove that obviously, but it was just kind of, again, like you said, it's just very out of the blue, and I can't, when something like that happens out of the blue, especially when Sony was very quiet over the weekend after that the whole Blue Point closure happened. I can imagine them in the boardroom kind of going, shit, we need some positive PR. Let's get a release date for Wolverine, our biggest game of the year out there. So it wouldn't surprise me that they did that, but it's just kind of funny as well. Hey David, how's it going? It's going okay. I'm just having a nice chill Sunday stream. I hope you are doing well. But Marathon. So this is the latest game from Bungie, and the last time I played it, I put maybe about 10 hours into it, I want to say, cuz I did my due diligence of like really extensively like trying and like trying the game and getting into it and stuff like that. And I walked away with a mainly negative impression simply because I thought the game was just boring. I mean, even when you get into gunfights, the PvE or the PvP, there was just something about it that did not really click with me at all. And I remember thinking, playing it, something along the lines of, something about this feels off, and I couldn't really quite put my finger on it at the time. And it was even after 10 hours, I kind of just went, I don't know, there's just I don't really understand, I guess, what Bungie is going for here. And I personally didn't see the vision And I thought to myself, okay, maybe they're going to work on it another few months. They're going to add some more content to it. They'll probably um, streamline a little bit of the progression, make things a little bit better. And then by the time the open beta comes around before launch in March of next year, maybe I'll have a better idea of what this is and what they're going for. And now that I've played the Server Slam, I've probably put about I don't know, like quite a few hours into it, and I've done it across solo, squad play with randos, and squad play with friends. And I did all three. And even after doing that, this game is just it's not for me. Here's the thing though. Extraction shooters aren't usually for me anyway, because this is a genre that I just don't really like. I don't like the idea of losing my loot when I die. I don't like the idea of going into a match with really good shit and then you just get like sniped out of nowhere and you die and you go like, well, fuck, that sucked. Well, now I lost all my loot. And I get that that's it's a thing that will appeal to a niche amount of people, which I can appreciate, I can respect, I can understand. However, even after playing Marathon in 2 different builds and this one definitely much closer to launch, I'm still left kind of puzzled, I guess, by what this game seems to be going for. There's just something about it that feels lacking. Even in multiplayer games that I think I either don't really care about or ones that I just don't really like, it felt like I understood what the core of it was. Like, as an example, when I played Arc Raider, I know everyone's gonna fucking groan me comparing this to Arc Raiders, but this is the closest point of comparison we've got. When I played Arc Raiders during the open beta with a few friends, Arc Raiders is not for me. Arc Raiders is, it's an extraction shooter. It's got the whole like crafting thing, which I don't usually like. And I don't know. I just kind of went like, like, okay, like this is fine and all. Like, okay, whatever. The difference between Arc Raiders and Marathon is like all it took was a few matches for me to like, I got it. Like I understood the core. I understood from an outsider's perspective the core appeal of Arc Raiders. And I understood it just from a visual language perspective. I understood it from a design perspective. I understood what the appeal is. I also thought it read very well as far as, visually. I thought atmospheric, it was pretty on point. I like that there was a clear distinction between PvP and PvE. I think the ambiance of Arc Raiders matches its design or the gameplay design of an extraction shooter. I think it was a very inspired idea to have these gigantic machines wandering the map. I think that gives it a very like distinct visual identity, especially with the enemy design. The difference with that, and then I played Marathon, and even after experiencing like 2 different builds with solo play, squad with randos, and squad with friends, I still am just left confused as to what, I guess, I don't really get the appeal of this particular extraction shooter outside of a visual perspective. Because I think this Designers Republic, the art direction that it's going for, the very, very distinct art direction that it has, to me comes across more as wallpaper over a very shallow experience. That's the vibe that I get from it, and those are at least my thoughts on Marathon. Is that once you get past the atmosphere, because I think that's my biggest I guess praise towards Marathon, is that it has a very intriguing atmosphere and a very intriguing tone in its in its like cutscenes and its design and stuff like that, and I really like that aspect to it. Such as when you are looking at one of the corporation sponsors, the AI figures that you talk to, and I like their designs, and I like the concept of you being this body free consciousness that just travels from body to body in order to be like get loot, and you're like trapped on this planet, and you sacrifice your humanity in order to go to this planet and try to find something like an El Dorado that's there. I like that idea, but I don't, and this is something that it's so funny because before I even started playing with him, one of my best friends who is the Destiny guy that I've talked about before, and I was planning on playing Marathon with him anyway to try to, we were going to go into it together. And he did not get into the closed tech test that I got into a few months back. And I got this text from him, and I found it to be like almost exactly what I thought during the closed tech test. And I hadn't even played the server slam yet, which I thought was very funny. And I went like, "Oh wow, like he kind of understands like what I'm thinking of the game." And he just, I don't know, but so I think the thing that he said was like, what I think it was, he said, "I actually really like the music and the cutscenes theme. They give the potential of the game being a sci-fi horror like Resident Evil but with robots. But then you load into a game and it's all cartoony graphics and it takes away the horror aspect." And I'm going like, yeah, I agree with that, because I think there's a lot of potential here for a really cool body horror sci-fi first-person shooter with a campaign, or I would even go so far as to say maybe PvE, you and your friends trying to survive on these hostile maps against NPCs and stuff like that. I guess I don't, to me there's something a little bit tacky, I guess is the word I would use, about you are this stream of consciousness that is sponsored by multiple different corporations to go out and hunt for loot from the maps, but then you compete with other players trying to find stuff. But then it also has this underlying darker message about corporate, what corporations can do in a dystopic science fiction setting like this. And it just comes across as tacky that they're trying to deliver this kind of like undercurrent of darkness to it while they're also hawking microtransactions and battle passes at you. I don't know. There's something strange to me about that. Like I said, with Arc Raiders obviously has microtransactions, has battle passes, but it doesn't really have that darker element to it. It's more about you and your friends going up onto the surface to survive and scavenge. And like I said, for an extraction shooter, I think that kind of concept or plot, I don't know about plot. I think plot might be a little bit of a stretch, but that kind of concept with that kind of underlying tone to it, I think works a lot better for an extraction shooter than this, where this is much more of like a sci-fi horror tone to it. And it's trying to do, again, this underlying theme of like unrestricted corporate interference and corporations taking control of things like consciousness and stuff like that, sponsored by corporations in order to find loot. But then it's Bungie doing this, and it's like, oh yeah. It's like Bungie, okay. I'll also echo the complaints from a lot of people, and I'll say this last thing before I get into the chat for a sec. For a game that has been in the reiteration phase for many months now, I'm amazed that the UI is just as bad as it is now compared to when I played it in the tech test. I mean, it is bad. It's like one of the worst. it's some of the most visually unpleasant UI navigation, menu navigation I've ever seen. I mean, it's just these bright contrasting colors with this really tiny text with this weird font that kind of blends into the background. And I just like I'm somebody I haven't been playing it on PC. Maybe it's because this is built more for people who want to play on PC. So they're closer to their monitor, so they're able to like see things a little bit clearer and more neatly. But for somebody like me who plays on a big TV on my PS5 and I'm like maybe 5 feet away from the TV because getting any closer hurts my eyes and gives me a headache, that was a miserable experience trying to just like literally see what I was looking at. And I have glasses. I have I have my glasses on and I'm still like looking at Marathon like, man, maybe I need a new maybe I need a new prescription. Like like I can't see shit with some of this text and some of this the way the menu is designed. It looks like just dog shit in a lot of cases. But then I play something like Resident Evil Requiem and I'm like, "Oh, I have no problem with this even on the smaller text. Like I have no problem seeing things because that has a much better design as far as its menus and the font and the color that it uses. It's so bizarre that it still looks this bad, and that was one of my biggest complaints from the closed tech test that I played a few months back. And I was like, man, you guys got to clean this UI up. It looks like shit. And then I play the server slam, and the UI still looks like shit. It's like, did you do anything to this? Like it's like And I think another thing that I was really surprised, or before I get more into that, let me look at the chat. 10 hours is torture. I don't know about that's the thing. I don't think Marathon is bad. There are a lot of people that are saying things like Marathon is trash, it's gonna fail, it's gonna be horrible. I don't think Marathon is bad. I just think it's boring. I think there are some ideas in it and qualities about it that I do like and can appreciate, but I think the extraction shooter was the wrong genre for this. And I know a lot of people don't like that argument because it's like, well, you got to judge it for what it is. I think this would have been a lot better as a PvE shooter. That way, Bungie could have focused more time on fine tuning that aspect of it versus trying to do both PvE and PvP and trying to find this balance between the two. And that's going to be a problem, I think, later on, where they're going to get more into the post-launch support, where they're going to have to listen to a lot of player complaints. And I don't think they're going to really do that great of a job balancing between the two. Because, you got Destiny 2. Destiny was like PvE and PvP were their own separate things. And this is a case where the two are just mashed together. And I don't think Bungie's ever had that before. Outside of what is it? Gambit in Destiny 2, but that was a very like limited specific mode. Meanwhile, this you have a full game. And it's the thing with Marathon 2 is that I think to me, I think what the thing that I think about when I play Marathon is that it feels like a mode separate from a more complete game. That's what I feel when I'm playing it. I just think to myself, this feels like an add-on mode, but this is actually what the game is. So I kind of felt the same way when I played Arc Raiders. Hey, RJ Emerson. I kind of felt the same way when I played Arc Raiders. I don't think the extraction shooter genre is for me. No, I agree with that. But like I said, I played like a few hours of Arc Raiders, and even though it's not for me, I didn't dislike my time with it. Like I can appreciate it and I understand it even if it isn't for me. Because I did feel like unlike Marathon, I really like got a good sense of what the flow and the design language was. Richard, an IP revival. Lol. I don't know what you're talking about. Another good word would be bewildered. I don't know. I don't know if I'd go that far, David, but I don't know. I mean, it just I don't know about bewildered, but I was definitely confused where I was just playing it and I'm going like, if there's people out there that like this game, God bless. God bless. I'll let them have their fun. They'll play it, they'll enjoy it. Cool. But as I'll talk about later, I still remain very very skeptical that this is going to have the long-term legs that I think maybe Bungie and Sony want for it. If they're smart, they would. Well, that's a whole other thing. I'll get to that later. Um, I hate the term, but oh hey, Red Riot Robot. I hate the term, but marathon is the biggest example of ludonarrative dissonance. Yeah, it's like I think if there wasn't like a live service element to it, where you're trying to entice people to buy skins and look cool. I don't know, there's something again, it's kind of tacky to me about this dark horror concept, dark sci-fi horror concept, body horror concept, psychological horror where you are just this disembodied stream of consciousness that's bouncing from body to body but then you're constantly being told like, "Oh, you're earning credits. You can go buy some skins, and you can look cool." I'm like, okay, like sure, I guess. Boring equals bad. I don't think boring equals bad. I mean, boring. The act of being bored is bad. It's not good, but I don't think something that's boring automatically means it's bad. I think something can be boring and bad, but like separately. Um, like for example, there are movies that I think are bad, but I don't think they're boring. And then there are movies that I think are boring, but I don't think they're bad. I don't think those are like mutually exclusive, mutual like things. Automatically. I think the game would have worked as a sci-fi horror game with a cool story, something about AI or something. Yeah, totally. I agree with that. If Bungie was interested in not being a live service powerhouse studio, and I put powerhouse in quotes because they're really not anymore. This game is a reboot of Bungie's original work. That's what I meant by IP revival. Oh, okay. I beat Metaphor ReFantazio. Awesome. Uh, I haven't played since I haven't played it since 2024. So I think I let a buddy of mine borrow it, but I'll get it back from him at some point and finish it. I am intrigued by what I've played of it. Um. So anyway, with Marathon, I I just I mean I say this with like no kind of hyperbole whatsoever. I mean this like dead serious. There was one point where I was playing it with friends and I started like nodding off where I literally was like sitting there in my chair playing it and I just was like and then just like nodded off. And I kind of just I kind of just stood there in the game while my friends just like fucked off from the group and like did their own thing in the map. And I kind of just like I was just like asleep in my chair and I was like, okay. And then I just kept like I shit you not, like I was falling asleep while playing Marathon. Like I just thought it was that even when getting into a PvP fight or a PvE fight, I don't know. There's just something. I mean, Bungie is usually known for its gunplay, and I didn't really think the gunplay was all that special in Marathon. I also really dislike that they still have that stupid heat system in the game, where for a Bungie game, it doesn't really encourage mobility all that much. It almost like punishes you for trying to be mobile because every time you run or do a ground slide, it always builds up that stupid heat meter, and then if it reaches the end of it, it's filled like that's mark, then you're unable to run or slide. So if your heat is up, and then you get into a fight, you're screwed, basically. Which I just was like, oh great, that's awesome. Thank you, Bungie. Now, there are ways, of course, to upgrade and buy ammo and stuff like that. The ammo is very scarce in this game too. But I've seen a lot of complaints too from people that they're not finding enemies, that the maps feel dead. I personally never had that experience. I felt like every match I was finding enemies to fight. I especially found other teams to fight a lot of the time. In solo, squad with randos, squad with friends. I never had a problem with that. Um Funnily enough, the OG marathon is kind of horror story and it centers around AIs. Yeah. I that's again, that's it's like to me this whole thing, it's like if they took Deus Ex and made it an extraction shooter. That's kind of like what that's kind of what I equate it to, which I get that they're trying to make this marathon like its own thing, but it's just like eh. I've yet to hear anyone like the heat meter. Yeah, it's such a like I don't get it. Just from maybe they wanted to have some kind of limit on how often you can like run away and slide like ground slide and stuff like that, but it's not fun. I mean, that's kind of the I understand, some elements that are inconveniences can gel with the rest of the game to create a more immersive experience. I mean, you just look at Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which has a lot of inconveniences in the gameplay that are by design in order to mimic the atmosphere and the setting. That I understood, but with the heat system, I don't get it unless it's just they wanted to pose some kind of limit onto you because and then the narrative reason is that you're a shell. Like, okay, whatever. Cool. But I think with Marathon, what's also really interesting about it is that I think there are in this server slam there are two maps. Meanwhile, in the one that I played last year, there were three maps. So I've already seen what this game is like with more content, and I still kind of found it wanting. But then you have something like this that has even less content, and I'm going like, okay. Hmm. And then I'm also very curious about the the fourth map that they're gonna have at launch. That's a section on the Marathon ship where you get to fight the aliens from Marathon, and then it's like a high tier loot kind of thing where you have to go in with your best stuff and fight against the highest tier enemies. I really wonder what percentage of players are going to even make it to that map in the game because it's meant to be more like the raid experience from Destiny. But in the difference between dying in Destiny and dying in Marathon is that you lose a bunch of shit in Marathon. So I really am curious to see how that's going to go with a lot of players. Um Now, as for the thing that I like to talk about more, because I like to be honest, I don't find Marathon really all that interesting as a game. It's just kind of like meh to me. Like I said, I don't think it's bad or anything. I just think it's kind of like, like it is what it is, and it's not for me. I'd rather just stick with Resident Evil Requiem right now. I'd rather just stick with Helldivers 2. Um, but how it's gone down over this weekend. And I I don't know cuz I am, I think if I'm going by the Steam charts, I'll switch it over to the Steam charts on the screen. So, these are the current numbers for for Marathon right now. And I know like there's a contingent of people that are like, talking about Steam charts. It's like I'm so fucking tired of hearing about Steam charts. Steam charts from SteamDB are an excellent way to get information that the public normally does not have available. So I don't want to hear any shit from people who are crying about SteamDB because it is a valuable service. The more public information we have about anything, the better. So I think saying we need less information is really dumb. I just think that's a really dumb take. It's like, you want less information? You want to be in the dark more? Okay. So that, no, get out of here with that. Like, I want more information. I want charts like this for PlayStation and Xbox as well. That would be awesome. Like, the more information we have, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So, because you can have a public perception around any game, but stats do not lie. Numbers do not lie. That's why, like, when people say, "Oh, GTA is a dead game," and then it's like, okay, dude, yeah, sure, I'm sure GTA Online is a dead game, right? Sure, sure. So all you have to do is look at these numbers, and you already look at the people that are going Concord 2, and it's like, no, it's not Concord 2. It's not. It's not. It's not Highguard, it's not Concord, it's not. 143,000 peak concurrent players, even before like a drop off, like phasing out point over on the next few days after Thursday. 143K is still pretty okay. It's a little bit lower than what I predicted, because I was predicting it was probably going to be about like 200,000 peak concurrent players on its first day. Because that's kind of like a little bit higher than what Arc Raiders had. And I was being a little bit too bullish, maybe, because I was thinking, well, it's Bungie, it's the next big game of theirs after Destiny 2. So I think there's going to be a lot of interest in at least from a curiosity perspective. And I don't know, I was surprised that it did not get above, like, I'm surprised it didn't reach 200K or exceeded, went higher over the weekend, I guess. But I still think like 63K is pretty good. It's okay, but yeah, and like the thing too is that people always look at the numbers. You also have to look at this dotted little like line that's in there. It kind of disappears but if you can see it, there's the little like dotted line that appears that represents kind of the flow. And besides this point, there is consistency across these days. So I think as far as retention for the people that actually do click with the game, that didn't get washed out after the first day and over the weekend, it's not like the alpha from back in April, where the alpha chart, let's see, marathon alpha, or where's the test? Come on. Oh, I didn't even spell it right. Test. There we go. So when you actually take a look at that, back in April, that was much worse, because that was like, you look at the line here and it had a big thing and then it just fucking tanked. The numbers are very different, obviously, because this is a closed tech test. But if you look at that little, like, the dotted one right there in the middle, it was like, man, that just flatlined, where it just went up and then just, and then it just, like, ugh. But then you look over at when they had another big closed tech test, which this is the one that I participated in. And it was much better, where you got a spike here, and then there's more consistency with, of course, the numbers are going to go down, but it's nowhere near the drop of the April beta. So going back to Server Slam. So I think 143K peak concurrent count, 63,000 concurrent players right now. I think it's okay. I don't think this is a failure. I don't think this is a roaring success either, though. Because you look at something like Deadlock, which technically doesn't even, like, publicly available right now, and it's like 112,000 players right now. Now, granted, this is Valve, but it's a closed test for a game that hasn't even been publicly announced yet by Valve, at least in like any big way. And you need an invite from a fellow Steam user to get in. Meanwhile, Marathon Server Slam, available to everybody, peaks at 143K on its first few hours, and then it just, goes down after that. Now, again, these last few days, they are more consistent, and I would also take caution with saying that Marathon's going to be not going to do well retention wise because from the data from this, because there might be a large contingent of players who were originally going to get Marathon anyway, probably maybe already have it pre-ordered, and then they try out the tech test just for a little bit, but then because progress doesn't save, they bounce on it because they don't want to put all this time and energy into the closed alpha or the open beta, and then they have to do it all over again later this week when it drops on Thursday. So I think there's something with that. That's one of the main reasons why you're also seeing a drop. And I'm saying all this because I want to be fair to Bungie. I want to be fair to PlayStation. Because I've already seen too many bad takes of people going like, oh my God, Marathon's dead. It's dying. It's going to get shut down. They're going to close Bungie. It's like, no, not going to happen. Not at all going to happen. That's not the way this works. However, and this is something that I see Red Riot Robot has already beat me to the punch on, I have serious doubts that this is going to be good enough for Bungie. I have serious doubts this is going to be within the context, like for any other live service from a modestly budgeted game, from any other publisher or developer. I think these numbers would be a big success. Like if a 50, 60 person team made a live service that costs like $30 and they had the open test for this, and they were based out of like, I don't know, the Midwest or something like that, or hell, even like the South or something like that in the United States or Eastern Europe. I think these numbers would be very respectable. And I think that would be a good sign for that game, that there is attention there, that with this kind of player retention after a few days, I think there's positive signs there. The problem is that this is Bungie with like an 800 person team developing out of Bellevue, Washington, which is one of the most expensive places to develop games, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, one of the most like biggest publishers out there, with like even like their stance overinflated expectations that went all in on this live service thing where they bought Bungie in-house, paid $4 billion for them, nearly $4 billion for them initially, probably have spent have spent millions more into this game, have spent millions more beyond the original September release date that was announced back in April of last year, spent time, probably legal fees, they had to pay. I imagine they gave Anti-Real, the artist who they plagiarized from, the decals from, paid her probably like a decent amount of money, maintaining the game, paying for the salaries, paying for the lights on. I mean, it's like they have spent so much money on, between Bungie and PlayStation. They have spent so much money on this game, and they have spent so much money supporting Bungie. They have spent so much money retaining Bungie. They even after laying Bungie off, it's still like an 800 person team. They like, and again, like I have to remind people, like, because there are a lot of people who are going like, I can't believe Bungie bet all in on an extraction shooter when they could have just made Destiny 3. With that kind of statement, they're missing historical context, because again, I've said this before, Marathon was never meant to be the next big thing from Bungie. It was meant to be one of 3 or 4 next things from Bungie, because they really wanted to be like Rockstar. They really wanted to be like I can't think of another good example where they have all these like multiple live services going on and they're making like tons of money from them. I mean, that's the pitch that got them, that attracted PlayStation's interest in them. That's how they were able to acquire such like an enormously like stupidly like crazy good deal from PlayStation, where not only did they get paid $4 billion and then given like immense amount of freedom and immense amount of power within PlayStation, it's because Bungie told PlayStation, we have all these projects in the works, including Marathon, and these are going to really balloon up. And they wanted to be like Blizzard. Thank you. That's a really good example. They wanted to be like Blizzard, where they have their Overwatch, they have their Heroes of the Storm, they have their StarCraft, they have their WoW, they have their Hearthstone. So they have all this stuff, and they're just making billions upon billions upon billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of dollars each year. And Sony, they're going to make Sony very rich and very happy because they just have a bunch of live service bangers in the works. And as we all know, that did not happen because reality hit Bungie, where their own hubris, it's a mix of things. Their own hubris caught up with them. The COVID bubble burst. PlayStation got hit with Concord and went, oh shit, and kind of like reorganized that whole thing. Bungie missed their revenue targets by 50% the year that Final Shape came out, and they had to do like not one but 2 rounds of mass layoffs. They had to cancel multiple projects that I'm sure were part of why Sony acquired them. They had to let go of their Gummy Bears project and spin that off into its own studio within PlayStation, which that's another one I still like. When I look at like what that might be, I don't have much confidence in that. Because I think Bungie's taste is quite questionable at best, especially since like these guys played a hand in getting given the green light, the thumbs up to Concord or Fair Games. It's like, yeah, good idea. This will be a good idea. So Marathon was never, all in all to say, Marathon was never meant to be their next big thing. It was meant to be one of several next big things. So now this is the make or break project for them. And especially because Destiny 2, they like really dropped the ball with that. Final Shape had a really satisfying ending, and then they tried switching up the formula with Edge of Fate, and that blew up in their face. So then they had to do a whole they had to spend months like getting lambasted for that, and then reorganizing it in order to make players happy again. But that didn't really work because Bungie's player numbers Destiny's player numbers aren't very good anymore. They had to delay the update, not the expansion, the update, the mid-season update to June in order to pull more people from the Destiny 2 team onto Marathon, get this out the door. So no, I don't think with those circumstances in mind, I don't think 143k concurrent players for a free server slam is a great sign. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's like the Concord level failure that some people want this to be in order to teach Bungie a lesson. I don't think it's great either. I think under most circumstances these numbers would be okay, but for Bungie, that is very, very, very expensive to maintain. Like I don't know. I don't know what Sony or Bungie's expectations are for this. I don't know. I don't really know what the break even point is for this game, because I can imagine this project costing at bare minimum, like at the barest minimum, $200 million. It's probably more. I would imagine it's more than that. Like I would imagine it's probably somewhere like $300 to $400 million, and that's like just the development of it. That's not maintaining. That's not maintenance. That's not paying for the crew, the development team beyond this point. It's like And then again, this is why they're gonna probably like push the microtransactions pretty hard. I don't know, guys. I don't know with Marathon. I think it'll do decent. I'm not gonna change my opinion that I do think this is actually gonna do okay. It'll do okay for launch. I think it'll be a decent success because it's Bungie, and Bungie attracts like a hardcore loyal player base. But I think for something like the niche, um like the niche uh that this genre seems to go for, because this is clearly more in the niche, like hardcore niche area compared to something like Arc Raiders. I don't think that's good enough for me. And again, like people are gonna be like, "Oh, look at these armchair critics, these armchair developers." It's like, dude, like I live on the West Coast. I know how expensive it is to live here. I live in fucking California, Southern California. I know how expensive it is to live here. I can't even imagine how much it costs to run a studio like Bungie developing something like this on the West Coast in Bellevue, Washington, which is very expensive to develop out of. So, I don't know. My bet is the peak for Marathon is going to be between 100 to 120,000 players. You know, you mean on Steam, the concurrent count on Steam, you mean? I'm sure that's what you meant, Red Robot. The concurrent player count on Steam, which concurrent player counts I don't think is the be all end all, because if there's consistency, if of like 70,000 players across a period of like multiple weeks, I think that's pretty good. That's like retention that's there. And again, there's a good sign with the retention that maybe that will be the case on Thursday. I don't know if that's going to be enough for Bungie. I don't know, because I think Destiny Final Shape, I think that was like 300,000 peak concurrent players or something when that came out. Oh no, Edge of Fate, that was 108,000, and that was considered bad for like a $40 expansion, like 108,000 concurrent players. And then you had Renegades, which was like 71,000 players, and that was considered really bad. Let's see, where was Edge of Fate? I think that's. Hold on. Where the hell is where was Final Shape? I think that was 2024. Yeah, I think that was 2024. So yeah, so this is Final Shape. So Final Shape was about like it maintained a peak of like 314,000 peak concurrent players, which is really, really good. Like that number on its own is really, really, really good. That did not stop Bungie from laying off like a ton of people. And that was considered financial underperformance, where they missed their revenue targets by 50%. And that was during like the grand finale, like widely critically acclaimed like expansion, the final expansion to Destiny's original arc. And it would have been higher if there weren't server issues on that day. It would have gone past that 316,000. But this was considered, like, these numbers were considered a financial disappointment. And that's just on Steam. So it's higher on consoles because Destiny is a very like console-based game. So what does that say about Marathon? If Marathon is getting like these numbers, and it's like, I don't know. And then you have community sentiment, which among the people that are sticking with it, they seem to really enjoy it. They seem to think it's really great. And that's, that's good. That's good. You want like that's the thing with live services. The reason why it's such a dangerous game to play is that releasing a game is just the beginning. And you want things like retention, you want things like lots of spending, you want things like worldwide appeal, which I think this is something that Marathon lacks as well, because around the times that it's peak gaming hours in places like Europe, and I know they were hoping to crack into the Chinese market as well with Marathon. There was like that one story that came out about a Chinese playtest they had that had positive results, and the Marathon community was like, "Oh my god, this thing could be a big hit in China." You look at anywhere on this chart where Chinese people mainly play on PC, and you look at anywhere that's like Chinese peak player times and UK player times, South Korea, it's just not hitting the numbers like what you would expect from like a big worldwide appeal live service. Where this is a game that is very heavily going to appeal to the United States. More specifically, this is going to be like a big West Coast focus kind of thing, where the number is at its highest during the West Coast time. So my time, that's when the numbers are always the highest, minus when the game first came out, for the Silver Slam first came out. So this is why I said live services are a dice game while a gust of wind is blowing in your face. Because, I mean, even if you get a good roll on the initial dice, those winds could knock the dice over and turn it into a snake eyes very quickly. And you know what? Vice versa as well. You could have lower player numbers, and then there are just circumstances that happen, and if you stick with it long enough, to where the number goes up and up and up, and it becomes a success. Weird things happen with the live service stuff. And I've always said that I think one of Marathon's biggest hurdles is going to be Bungie itself. This is the main thing that I have said for a long time, that no matter what Bungie releases from here on out, because of the way they have behaved, because of their studio culture, because of the decisions that they've made with Destiny 2 over the years, there's always going to be that large contingency of people that are going to look at Bungie, who are in the know of them, and go, oh, and pause and wait. And, you know, maybe Marathon, after a year being out on the market, it'll achieve like well above this. That's the thing. Like, I obviously I don't know what's going to happen on Thursday when it releases. I don't know what it's going to be like this time next week. I don't know what it's going to be like a month from now. I don't know what it's going to be like a year from now. I can only go by based on these kind of numbers and these stats. But it looks okay. But for a Bungie game, these are softer than I expected. And I think it was Forbes, Paul Tassi over at Forbes, that said, in order for Marathon to be considered a major hit, or like a hit within PlayStation and Bungie, it needs to be that I think they said it needed to be like in the top 5 NPD of the NPD charts for the year, which that's not going to happen. No, that's not going to happen with this. This is a year where you still got the big sports games coming out. You got the big, Call of Duty at the end of the year, I imagine. Despite Black Ops 7 being ass, it's still going to sell a lot. You got GTA 6 possibly coming out this year. You got Wolverine coming out this year. You got James Bond coming out this year. You got a lot of competition this year for time and attention. I mean, that's another thing. Outside of live services as well, you're competing for attention. You're competing for time. And it's not 2014 anymore, where Bungie, it's not even 2017 anymore, where Bungie can release their next game and reliably like millions of people will show up because it's Bungie. It's not like that anymore. It's much much more competitive compared to back then. I mean, we've come a long way since 2014 when Destiny 1 came out, and then 2017 when Destiny 2 came out. And Marathon is releasing in a very different time, a very different market. A lot of options out there. Not many extraction shooter options, but it feels like the winners are already kind of being decided in that space as well. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen with Marathon. If I go by my gut, I'm gonna stick with my guns on this one, where I think it will find success in the short term. I'm not gonna deviate away from that. If I were to make a prediction about the peak and player count, I'm gonna say maybe, because I really thought this would go above 200,000 for Marathon. I really did think that, because it's like, this is the next big Bungie game. This is the next. Maybe it's the fact that Resident Evil is also out this weekend. That's taking a lot of time away from this, because Resident Evil, like you said, Red Eye Robot's a big hit right now. It's a very good game. I'm currently playing it right now. It's very good. I'm enjoying it quite a bit, even with some problems I have with it. So that's like, and that's the thing too. Like, even during the server slam, like, even though I've put time into Marathon, I go to my PlayStation home screen and I look at, would I rather play Marathon or Resident Evil Requiem? Resident Evil Requiem is a much more stressful experience for me, and I'd rather play that than this. Like, I would rather feel more stressed out than continue to play Marathon and deal with its like horrendous UI and it's just kind of like dull atmosphere, and it's like but yeah. Oh, see you later, Red Rider Robot. Hope you have a good one. Hope you have fun. But yeah, that's kind of what I got to say about Marathon. If I were to make a prediction, let me round that out with that. If I were to make a prediction with Marathon, where this is gonna go on Thursday, like the peak concurrent count on PC at least, because I don't think it's going to go above this. That's my gut feelings. Like, I don't think it's gonna go above this, because these betas tend to like rarely have higher. I mean, the only one I can think of recently is just Arc Raiders, but that was like such a worldwide hit. That's another one that was like such a worldwide hit. It had a ton of positive momentum behind it. Outside of the hardcore extraction shooter, like player base people, the Marathon people that are really into this and digging it and are part of the, I imagine it's probably like 64K right now playing it on PC, at least, probably like, tens of thousands more on Xbox and PS5. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to say it's going to go above 150K. I'll go that far, because I don't think there's anything really like major coming out that same weekend. I'm gonna spitball a little higher than this. I'm gonna give Marathon the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna give Bungie the benefit of the doubt on this. I'm gonna say 150K is where it's gonna go. Like, a bare minimum, it's gonna reach, and it's gonna go above that in the weekend that follows. Unless there is some like major controversy, like major problem with Marathon, which I wouldn't put it past Bungie, because it's Bungie. But I'm gonna be generous to Bungie. I'm gonna be generous to Marathon, just, I guess, because I'm in a good mood today. I'm gonna say the peak concurrent count will probably be like 150K. Beyond that, I don't know. But if they can maintain these numbers and have people spending money in the game, I mean, that's okay. It's I mean, but beyond that, I don't know. The problem is that it's just Bungie's own hubris really bit them in the ass, where they could have scaled this down and made it something more manageable, where they didn't need enormous numbers to justify the cost. They could have made a return with a single player game, turn Marathon into a single player game, have it be something more guided, more limited. Um, See how the reception is to that, and then maybe go from there. That they turn it into a like they maybe later make a multiplayer game with Marathon once it's established some kind of base from the single player campaign. But that's not what they did. They went gung ho with this live service thing, which again, they're like, even after years of dealing with this with Destiny, they just they just like throw themselves into the wind yet again, and they're trying to have their big moneymaker again, and it's just I I don't know. I really I worry not for Bungie leadership itself. I don't give a shit about them. I don't give a shit about PlayStation's leadership. I care. I am nervous for the people who are on like the lower rung end of Bungie, the people that are susceptible to layoffs like last time, because again, 300,000 concurrent players for Final Shape at $40 a pop, very similar to this, and that did not save Bungie. That was considered a financial disappointment, and that made them miss their revenue targets by 50%, and they had to lay a bunch of people off. So not the best thing. I just think if you get yourself into a situation where you have to consistently hit these like massive numbers, I think something is just wrong with the way you conduct business from like a fundamental perspective. And it's like, again, you're not to quote Red Riot Robot, like they want to be Blizzard. They're not Blizzard. Like Bungie is not Blizzard. Bungie is not Rockstar. They have Destiny, which is on life support right now, on maintenance mode until June. And then they got this, which could be a minor hit, could be like a decent hit with a niche hardcore player base. That's not enough to sustain Bungie, especially when they don't have anything else in the fire right now that's anywhere close ready to go. I mean, even if they started working on Destiny 3 right now, that thing would not be out for another probably like 4 to 5 years, I would imagine. And from what I understand from people who are on the inside who know things from Bungie, that's not happening right now at Bungie, or at least not on any like serious development level. Maybe like the nutshell, like the kernel of an idea is there, but there ain't no way Destiny 3 is in active development, and they either canceled or spun off all their other projects. So this is all they have left. Yeah, so I'm gonna give Bungie the benefit of the doubt though. 150K, that's where my prediction is. We'll see. It'll be interesting next week when this launches, or later this week when it launches. I'll be very curious to see how it goes. I'll be keeping a very close eye on this because, again, this is one of the big PlayStation 3, the Herman Hulst 3 as I call it, or the Jim Ryan 3. I don't know. What sounds better, the Jim Ryan 3 or the Herman Hulst 3? I don't know. But this was one of the three that I considered like their big vision of what PlayStation's live service initiative was going to be. It was this, Concord, and Fair Games. It's like those big three. Maybe if you're Herman Hulst, it's big four with the Horizon Hunters Gathering thing. So we'll say the big four. We'll change to the big four with the Hunters Gathering one. So one out of the four, it was already a big miss. Huge miss. One of the biggest failures in media history. The second one has been MIA for almost 3 years now with the very negative public reception. Hunter's Gathering, not the greatest initial reception, but could be improved. And then you have this Marathon, which kind of bounces up and down with the public perception. And I don't know if we're in like the it's so over or the we're so back phase of Marathon. I don't know. I mean, I guess like the fact that there's a consistent player base, I guess maybe the hardcore people are enjoying it, but whether that's going to be enough for Bungie and PlayStation, that remains to be seen. So we'll see. I'm not going to have a live stream next week because I'll be doing stuff. but I'll try to get something recorded kind of going over the first week of marathon, taking a look at it, because I love this data. I love it. I love looking at this data. I love speculating about it. I'm not usually like a big like data person. Like I don't care about, like I don't really like the research aspect of my line of work and stuff like that. I don't find it very interesting. But when it comes to this, I find all of this fascinating. Like I find getting a peek at the insider baseball of video games to be just fascinating. And Marathon to me, especially in the context of this being one of Sony's like big live services, is one of the more fascinating cases in recent memory. I have long been looking forward to seeing how this was going to do. And this is kind of a sneak peek maybe of how it's going to do. We'll see. So anyway, David, I'd rather have my ass handed to me by a boss in Neo than play Marathon. Yeah, that I think I'd rather have that as well. So that's going to be it for me today. Like I said, this was going to be a short one. So anyway, thank you all to everybody who watched. Thank you, Nero. Thank you, David. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, RJ Emerson. Thank you, Red Riot Robot. And yeah, so that's going to be it for me this week. I'll see you all later. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And I will catch you all next time. Goodbye.